On Netflix, the documentary The Manosphere, directed by a famous British producer, Louis Theroux, became viral. Many people talked about it, and that is exactly what I plan to do here as well. I saw the documentary a month ago to see what the hype was all about, since it naturally divided people based on their baseline views regarding men and their issues. This review isn't meant to be exhaustive, but more so to give you a general idea of what I thought about the documentary as a whole and what percent grade I'd give it in terms of effectiveness and its ability to reach men who might be stuck in the red pill slash manosphere path. Louis is someone whose content I first encountered more than a decade ago when he was investigating this neo group in the US, and I found it quite provocative but interesting at the same time. He came off very unassuming, a typical nerdy British guy who doesn't know anything about America and suddenly gets shocked that there are people who think the way this group does. On the surface, it seems like a genuine human reaction, and I don't doubt it too much. But on the whole, I realized it's part of his media strategy of shock and awe, which I only truly began to grasp later on as I continued to watch more of his content. He did this almost verbatim in the Manosphere documentary he recently published. He'd stand next to these tough guys and behave in a very unassuming and innocent way in order to create a visual contrast for the audience, almost communicating, look at how unreasonable these people are, picking on someone physically much weaker than them. They're so pathetic. From a media perspective, this is very smart, but also extremely deceitful and arrogant. There was no real threat or even a potential for it because even the worst ones he interviewed were quite reasonable and calm in their responses. There were no insults, no blatant disrespect, no misogynistic statements being made. The only bad actor was Theroux himself. He seemed utterly incapable of understanding them and even refused to find any common ground, which is a sign of someone who is ideologically possessed, someone who isn't interested in the truth about the world as it is. Even while asking them questions, they were framed in such a way so as to make them look foolish for answering them and foolish for not answering them. He was the master of the gotcha. And this is where I began to be frustrated with this documentary because I noticed his agenda and complete lack of objectivity. When he asked about their relationship dynamics, he would have an utter refusal to believe that they could be happy in any way, which is fair because some of those dynamics are way too toxic, like with Myron Gaines and his girlfriend at the time, Angie. He wanted an open relationship on his end, but not on hers, which makes no sense. But his complete rejection of a lot of the traditional gender roles and their viability, even in the modern relationship, is utterly laughable because it is devoid of any scientific or logical reasoning. He is, of course, entitled to believe whatever he wants, whatever he likes, but he cannot both claim to be a reasonable person and believe in utterly unreasonable things in this regard. He just wanted to have his cake and eat it too, and it came off as extremely arrogant and hypocritical. On the whole, this documentary is wholly biased and serves more as a propaganda tool by Theroux rather than an objective yet still entertaining exploration of a subculture that many people simply don't know about. It failed miserably and only has shown how truly untrustworthy the mainstream media is when it comes to presenting reliable and objective information. The campaign to push a leftist agenda of things, particularly one that is rooted in deep anti male sentiment, was put on full display in this movie. For the mainstream media, this is just another Tuesday. They have been doing this for decades now, and they have shown absolutely no sign of letting up. Theroux, with his documentary, which should more properly be called a mockumentary, is another example of that. So the percent grade I would give it in terms of reliability and objectivity, 20%. But do I recommend that you watch this documentary? In my opinion, yes. But with a major caveat. Do not take what Theroux says seriously for the most part. Instead of seeing it as a source of information to be educated, see it instead as a source of entertainment and a psychological study into how people from different political beliefs, in this case a very left-leaning person, think about reality and how that shapes their perceptions about those around them. Otherwise, there are better sources for learning about the Manosphere than from Louis Theroux. Anyways, that's it for this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. I'll see you in the next video.